Welcome back to Upkeep with Sean for the update video. It's been 3 months now since we've installed this gravel grid parking area, and it has been going great so far. So just to give you an update of what I've found as far as 3 months with no rain, practically no rain, no significant rain, is a couple areas of the grid and actually space itself out. It looks like the gravel may have made its way down. You see one area there. However, when I spread the gravel around, it does actually just seal itself back up. Now, a couple areas of concern though that I've noticed is like around here, the grid has actually come up a little bit. If you can see here, it actually has a little flex to it on the bottom. So this isn't something that I noticed when this was first installed or within the first month. However, we could see that quite a bit now. Those areas, again, like I was mentioning, is actually settled where the gravel made its way below the grid. Overall, I'm very satisfied with how this went. I'm very satisfied with how it came out. Now we can see the looseness in this gravel here. If you watched the original video where I installed it, I just put the grids over here and over here as the ending area. This was actually spaced out and empty right here because there's no vehicle traffic here, and plain and simply I was keeping the cost down, and the amount of grids I had for the project was only enough to cover these 2 tire tracks in the back. However, when we go from here, when we start up here, it's full grid all the way down the driveway. I do know that if the grid is not being used, the gravel will continue to sink down a bit, even though I have the weed barrier soil guard under there. I call it a soil guard because there's different types of weed barrier, and some weed barrier is just strictly weed barrier, that's a black cloth screen, and some is more like a tarp with the cloth that's multi-layer to help control the ground sediment and dirt from shifting. That's the stuff that I used here. So this is definitely not great. If you want to use the area, a dirt area for parking a heavy vehicle, like I park my 12,000 pound RV here, this with no grid under is no good. Definitely no good. You're going to spend a lot more time in maintenance and upkeep and time and material as the time goes on. Up here, our benefits are that we're just running 2 inches of gravel supported by the structure of the grid, of the full gravel grid. Now, I am glad that I waited. That way it actually did give the grid time to settle and for the gravel to make its way underneath, so therefore exposing the grid. And I can now go from there and just skim the top. So I'll be doing that for this area as maintenance improvement And hopefully that's the only time that I need to put another layer of gravel. Now that I've spot laid the gravel to fill the shallow areas, leveled it with my shoe, and driven my car over it to get the final compaction, the firmness of the grid has come back in all the areas that were a little lifted. I really enjoyed this project as it's come out great. Having started this project, I wanted to make sure the cost was low and possible to be completed by the average do-it-yourselfer like me. The other options for my parking area were to dry pour concrete or plain and simply just hire a concrete contractor to complete it. I'm glad I chose the gravel grid method as there's less room for error, like laying dry pour, and definitely less cost than calling a contractor with a truckload of wet concrete. Some have mentioned that the cost was inaccurate, so I wanted to do a cost breakdown of what it actually costed me to get the job done while acquiring the materials locally. I'm out here in the Southwest in California. Generally, things cost more. However, this is the breakdown here of what it actually costed. Gravel grid, $220 for 58 pieces. I acquired this locally through a private reseller in the local classifieds. Gravel for $89.91. That was for 3 bulk bags from the local big box store. Weed barrier, $30, which was while the original seller had carried the product. However, I put in the description a link to a slightly better product that costs just a little more. With a total of $339.91 and around a dozen scoopfuls of leftover gravel from the next project, which is the extension project of this grid. That video will be coming up soon, so please keep a lookout for that. And hit the subscribe button to keep up with the low-cost DIY ideas you too can plan to do yourself.